everyone, welcome to my channel, Travel Guy 38. So I haven't been doing a lot of traveling recently, because of COVID and everything, so I wanted to make a short video talking about teaching English in South Korea. And so I've taught here for about a decade, over a span. I started in 2009, and I'm going to be leaving this year in 2021, so 12 years in total, and I went back to the U.S. I think for 3 or 4 years for grad school. Anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the current situation of teaching ESL in South Korea. So I have a few points here I want to cover, and if you have any questions, you can comment. And if you like this video, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you do that, if you say that you want more videos about South Korea, I'm more than happy to make those videos. And so also, I should just say that videos on teaching in South Korea usually fall into two camps. There's the hardcore Korea boos, or the people who support Korea and love the lifestyle and love living here. And then there's the other people who hate it. So it's pretty rare to find the middle ground. But for me, this is just my opinion. And I am grateful to have worked here and taught here. And I'm also going to be really happy to leave, too. So, anyway, take what I say with a grain of salt. It's just my opinion. So anyway, with that being said, let's talk about COVID restrictions. So, right now, South Korea Asia in particular, has some of the strictest COVID restrictions in the world. And they change from month to month. And the government has this really complex 4-stage system of COVID social distancing. So right now I think it's a 10-day mandatory quarantine if you come into the country, and that it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated and have negative results, you're still going to have to be quarantined for 10 days, and you're also going to have to pay for it. And it used to be 2 weeks, but it's 10 days now. I know a guy who went to the US and he had to quarantine for 14 days when he came back. And then, now the government has a new policy where if you go to any restaurant or cafe, you have to register your presence with an QR code on your smartphone. And what that means is, if anyone tests positive in that establishment, the government will contact you and force you to isolate. So this happened to this guy I know. He had 2 weeks in quarantine after coming back from the U.S., and then he went to a restaurant, and somebody in the restaurant tested positive. And because the social distancing and COVID measures are so far-reaching, the government contacted him, and he had to do another 10 days in quarantine. So I know that affected him, and he was depressed, obviously, being in a room for, essentially that's prison, right? Being in a room for almost a month, and having food delivered to you and things like that. Okay, so COVID restrictions are pretty bad right now. Maybe that's all over the world. Okay, and that being said, infections are quite high right now. This is the middle of December 2021, but deaths are quite low, so that's good in South Korea's case. Okay, so the next thing is jobs. You want to come teach ESL, that's probably why you're looking at this video. And when I first came to teach ESL in 2009, it was fantastic, and I signed up with the EPIC program. The EPIC is English Program in Korea, and that was launched in, I think, 1998 was the first year, or 97, and it's a government program, and I always recommend everyone to get into the EPIC program if you can. When I joined, they would take anyone. It didn't matter if you had an unrelated degree, or if you were old, or if you had been arrested. But now they got a much more popular and much more strict, so you have to have either education or English or TESOL degree, and you also have to have a certification, a TESOL certification of at least 100 hours or 120 hours, and it's really selective these days. Maybe not really selective, but I think, way more selective than it used to be. But I always recommend the EPIC program because your school is funded by taxpayer dollars, and so there's more oversight, But like 95% of the jobs in South Korea are Hogwan jobs, and that's a private academy, and that's a business. And I know some teachers that have loved their Hogwan jobs and stayed there for like 10 years plus, but there's also a lot of horror stories because it is a business. And so if you don't perform well, or if you're not interesting, if the kids don't like you, you get fired. And there's a website called South Korea Blacklist, or Korea Blacklist, and it's by this guy Tokyo John, and you can check it out, and it has all these horror stories about people's bad experiences with Hogwan. So I always recommend to do Epic program if you can, but there's limited slots, and I know the funding for that has been drying up for years now, and they just got rid of a program called the Talk program. And the Talk program was for people who just had a 2-year degree, an associate's degree, and they could be like an assistant teacher. The Epic program, you're also an assistant teacher, but you make a higher salary. Okay, so that's for that. And then there's also, if you have a master's degree or higher, you can possibly get hired into a university in South Korea. I've done the Epic program, excuse me, and also university job. That's what I currently do. And the pay for the university job is much higher, and the job is much better. However, it has its own set of challenges. Excuse me, let me get a drink of water here. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that right now, but I can say that the jobs are extremely hard to get. Oh, check out this big cat. There's a big tomcat walking across the road. Those jobs are very hard to get, and there's a lot of nepotism. And from what I've seen, it doesn't matter so much on the qualification or the quality of the candidate. It depends more on the nepotism and what foreign teacher knows the other foreigners. So at the university I work at, most of the people who have been hired, they lived in the city and they came from Hogwans, and the university just hired, they asked the foreigners, oh, do you know any other foreigners? And you could tell pretty quickly that they just hired, somebody they knew. So nepotism is rife in those jobs. Okay, what else can I talk about here? Okay, fluctuating import policies. All right, so as a foreigner, if you come from a Western country, England, New Zealand, America, Australia, whatever, Canada, you have something that you want to eat that they don't have here, and maybe you have to get that sent to you, and maybe you can't find clothes that fit you, and maybe your mom wants to send you a Christmas box. Okay, so that's not going to happen. That's going to be difficult. My mom sent me these days because of the ever fluctuating import policies. So my mom sent me a birthday box last year, and I had this delicious beef jerky, and I'm from the Western United States, and we love our beef jerky out there. And the customs officials cut open the box, took out the jerky, and maybe took out some cookies too, and then sealed it back up and sent it to me, and said that, oh, if you want to pay for shipping, we'll send this back to the original address. Anyway, so I never got my beef jerky. My birthday was not as good as it could have been with that beef jerky. So anyway, keep that in mind, that if you come over here, there's going to be ever fluctuating import policies. Another example is Amazon. When I first came here in 2015, I could order, I think it was up to $300 import limit with no taxation. But this conservative government now, anything over $160, you're going to get hit with a 30% tax, and that's not 30% over 160. That's the total sum. So if you order $200 worth of stuff, you're going to have to pay a 30% tax on 200, which is $60 or whatever. It's a lot of money. So that's another thing we'll talk about. Okay, and then the other one is the foreign community, and I'm hitting a lot of different points here. In the foreign community, depending on where you live, can be vibrant or it can be toxic. And I find in the larger cities, it tends to be more, depending on where you live. If you live up in Seoul, there's some social groups, running groups and theater groups and things like that. But you always have to remember one thing, is that everyone's here for their own reason. And I heard this guy I know said that to me once. He said, well, everyone's here for their own deal. And that's really what it is. Some people are paying off student loans. Some people are traveling. That's what I was doing. I paid off student loans and also traveled all around Asia, and it was great. And it was fun. And then some other people come from really terrible places, that boring, and they have bad families, and this is kind of an escape for them. And so you're going to find a lot of different people in the foreign community. What I've noticed, at least where I live, is that there's a lot of toxic foreigners, and especially people who've been here for a long time, become very bitter and very resentful and maybe violent. A lot of them are addicted to alcohol, and a lot of them visit prostitutes. They openly have told me this. They go to Vietnam or go to different countries, and they'll just go on these drug and alcohol-fueled, sex vacations, And I mean, that might be okay for a while. I've never done it, but that might be okay for a while, but even that would get old, And So what happens is they get old really fast, and then they're stuck over here, and they're 40, 50 years old, and by that time, yeah, they've become very bitter and toxic, and I avoided them like the plague. And you should too if you come over here. All right, got about 2 minutes left on this video, and I know I talked about a bunch of things, but so should you come teach ESL in Korea right now? My personal opinion, I would say no. I would say stay in wherever you're at, and then wait until this COVID thing gets under control, because for me, I haven't been home in 2 years because I haven't been willing to self-isolate for 2 weeks. To me, that's insane. I think that would really be detrimental to my mental health, and I'm not going to do it. I like to be outside, and so I'm packing it in and I'm moving back. I always had a plan to do that, but after grad school, I came over here. I got a job. Luckily, there's been ups and downs, but primarily it's been a great experience. And I wouldn't trade my time in Korea for the world. Now, is it easy to live abroad for 10 years and be isolated and have people, friends or family die and be on the other side of the world? No, it's not. It's certainly not normal. And I've battled with depression and a little bit of mental health issues, but I am also a runner. So that keeps my mind healthy, and I've found my own happiness here. And the fact that you're watching this video and you're thinking about going abroad and changing something up, I would say go for it. There is a ton out there, and international travel is wonderful, the best education you can do. And South Korea is a great place to come and work if things weren't so messed up with the COVID restrictions. That's what I would say. But maybe you can find a situation where you're fully vaccinated and you can find a job that you would feel comfortable doing. So anyway, if this was at all worthwhile for you, please like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you don't mind. I would really appreciate it. And also, if you want, let me know and I'll make more of these videos. Ask a question and I'll try to make some video about some other aspect. I also know about banking, and there's transfer rates, and there's so many things to talk about. But this is just a short video. I'm almost out of time on this SD card. So happy days, everybody. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you later.